You know, in 2000 and when Mr. President was, former President Jonathan was on his seat, when he wanted to do all those things, all of them came up and started putting themselves on the streets. You understand? At the end of the day, they did not do anything. But now, look at what is happening. So I prefer them to remove the subsidy so that everything can be okay.
Subsidy removal is the best. But to me, both regulated or not regulated, subsidy or not subsidy, the only thing is to privatize that NNPC that are bringing all those language. Let it be out of government. Because if you say regulation today, tomorrow they will speak another language. Next government will bring another system. But if he is out from government and go to individual, we will now know that that individual is paying tax in the purse of government. Let them transact their business in NNPC.
I've never heard anything about subsidy in any country before. Subsidy should be removed. To me, as far as I'm concerned, that is criminal. When you talk about subsidy, it's criminal. It's 419.
Removal of subsidy is the best. If the subsidy is removed, the people will actually get hold of products wherever they go. So all the business, those in the business, in the buying and selling of fuel, can actually go get their products, you know, put the stuff in the first station where consumers can go and buy. But if it is regulated by the government, you discover that certain number of people who have linked to the government will use the name of subsidy to cut off enough resources from the government. So that was what the present government discovered, and they say, okay, deregulating the fuel price is the best. So I think you are facing the best practice of deregulation so far.
As for me, in my own opinion, I prefer that subsidy removal. Like for example now, Transcorp, I think it's owned by the federal government, but it is controlled by the individuals. So it is controlled by the individuals. Then the government will now take accountability of those people in charge of those things. They will now be paying tax to the federal government rather than government taking charge of those things. So as for me, that's it. I prefer removal of subsidy.
Well, I talked about faulty foundation, and I talked about, I have to talk again about insincerity on the part of the government. Because you can't, talk about subsidy. What are you subsidizing? What are you paying subsidies for? All those things are built on, is part of the corruption we are talking about. Why should we in the first place take our fuel, which is natural resources in Nigeria, you take it overseas first of all, go and refine it, and then you keep paying subsidy for somebody to bring it back to Nigeria. And you say you're fighting corruption. Part of what this government told us was they were going to address this issue of subsidy. It is grand corruption. Make sure you add this. It is grand corruption. Because you can't, for instance, take water. I'm trying to give you an analogy now. You have water as, one of the elements that God has given us. You take the water, you take it to Europe, and you go and refine the water and bottle it, and you say you're paying people money to go and bring it back to us, and you sell it to us at an exorbitant price. Oil, natural resources, is given to us by nature, God. So, subsidy is grand corruption. Let them build refineries in Nigeria and refine it and sell it to the masses at an affordable price. You don't need to talk about, giving somebody a subsidy to go and bring money or to go and import rice or to go and do this or do that. It's corruption of the highest order.
I think, to me personally as a person, it will go a long way in assisting the country in development. Because when you talk about restructuring, most of these states will no longer be dependent on oil because every state now is dependent on the federal government, what comes out from Abuja. So they are not ready to develop their states because they are all waiting for allocation. But when they now talk about restructure, when the state now have to grow with whatever thing it has to develop its own state, everybody will sit tight. For me personally, I support it.
Somehow it's not the solution to Nigeria problem. Because Nigeria have a long way to go.
Yes, I think that is the best way that Nigeria can move forward because all these things that maybe few people think that they are the one that own Nigeria is not proper. So I think restructuring will be able to move Nigeria forward. I think that will be okay. I think I like restructuring. So I would like any government that will come to introduce that one, and if they can actually did it, I think that will be help us to move forward.
Yes, I will start by saying that restructuring is good. Here in Nigeria, I found out that every government that came will come up with one idea or the other. And at the end of the day, it will be a campaign talk. It will not be something that will be implemented. So, in the issue of restructuring in Nigeria, that is the only way Nigeria can be balanced. If the government of the day or the incoming one can be sincere. To me, I see restructuring as a beginning of a sincere government in Nigeria. Because you can see that the so-called constitution of military is not helping us. Today, judiciary will say so. Tomorrow, presidency will say that. Next tomorrow, National Assembly will say their own. They are bringing common man on the street into confusion. So let us restructure. If our government can be sincere, then we have a regional government. Let the center be a center that, a center that is not accumulation of money. Let it be a center of governance, not a center of money. Look at our NNPC. NNPC today is a gangster business. They are telling us of subsidy. Subsidy is something that some group of people are eating our money. Let them privatize NNPC. Let it go. Let it be like Dangote business or any other group of people business. Let it be like transport eating. Okay? We still survive. Let the people that have the money to transact such a business transact it instead of using NNPC as a name to defraud us.
I think because restructuring is spread about from the grassroots to the federal. For example, in those days of early 70s, 60s, that we're talking about region, then every region as by then, they were doing very well. If I have cocoa in my state, I depend on that cocoa and produce it and then pay tax to the federal government. If I have granite, I depend on that granite. Then I refine it and pay tax to the federal government. But now, the federal government has took everything. They are just like a jack of all trades, but master of none. But as for me, I think those things should be restructured. Like, for example, like state police. If we have state police now, there are some communities that those policing, that means estrange their leadership of protecting people and other things. So from community to community, there will be presence of security personnel or some police stations. But looking at now, all things is just jeopardized to the state or federal capital, all those things. So I think restructuring is the best option for Nigeria, since our population is increasing.
You cannot, build an institution or on a nation state called Nigeria on a faulty foundation where you believe that, one is driving the seat, others are passengers. There will be clamoring year in, year out. There's nothing wrong with restructuring. Let us restructure and then get all the things together, where the entire institution, any geopolitical zone or any tribe that feels, is being marginalized, that issue has to be addressed.